competitors for our former home Vocal. And we may end up back with Vocal, but they've had some serious issues lately, and who knows. But I wanted to give the guys at Spreecast a fair shake in the battle. And speaking of battles, your Clemson Tigers versus the LSU Tigers. A battle for Death Valley, perhaps, if you're willing to say that they even have a Death Valley out there at LSU. It's going to be big-time football, big boy football, in the Chick-fil-a Bowl in Atlanta, New Year's Eve. Your Clemson Tigers and the LSU Tigers getting it on. We've got a whole lot to get to, plus some Tiger hoops. All of that and much more right here on Clemson Hotline on the John C. Calhoun Radio Network. Take your business to the next level with innovative website design from Foodog Media. Foodog can handle all your web, graphic, and social media needs. Call them today, 843-864-9268. That's 843-864-9268. Mention this ad and receive 10% off of your website. Foodog is a Clemson-owned business. See their portfolio at www.foodogmedia.net. May the food be with you.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call 800-399-5101 now and get the NFL Sunday ticket free for the rest of the season. That's 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief. It can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you, we'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I tried it and it worked. The fragrance is amazing. It has a refreshing scent, so I'm pain-free and smell good too.
The makers of real-time pain relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
G-Dog General Dentistry at Oak Grove is located on Highway 1 near the Barnyard Flea Market. Modern, relaxing dentistry with TVs and headphones in every room, nitrous and even oral sedation. Digital diagnostic x-rays for better quality and 85% less radiation exposure. And check out their new Clemson Patient Special. Mention that you heard about G-Dog here on the Clemson Sports Talk programs and receive an extra 5% off all services through football season. If you don't have a regular dentist, go see my dentist, Dr. Rick Jackson at G-Dog. That's General Dentistry at Oak Grove. Are you a landowner who owns more than 10 acres that's interested in selling timber or pulpwood off your property? Cross Creek Timber is a full-service timber procurement company that buys standing saw timber and pulpwood. They're staffed with professional licensed foresters and fully insured with both workers' comp and general liability insurance. Let Cross Creek Timber develop the appropriate harvesting plan for your property and answer any questions regarding forest management. Call today, 864-517-3620. That's 864-517-3620 for your free woodland evaluation, or visit www.crosscreektimber.com.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience?
We think that's crazy.
Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature,
Late Night Free Zone.
For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
On Saturday morning, I don't sleep late. I eat an early breakfast, and I head out for the gate. I gotta get there early to watch the Tigers play. The dogs are in town, we'll blow them away. I've got my orange t-shirt, got my orange hat, even orange underwear, and what you think of that? I'm an orange fan!
Oh, yeah. Welcome back into the program. I hope everybody can see us. We've moved over to Spreecast for the evening at least. If we really like it over here, maybe we'll stay. It's kind of tough, though, leaving the place where you're the big dog, which is probably a reason it's tough for, say, Florida State and Clemson to pack their bags up out of the Atlantic Coast Conference. When you're at the top of the charts, why would you leave where you are? Well, maybe greener pastures might be a reason. I see we've got Mark, Phillip, and Tommy with us. I hope they can see me. I hope they we'll chat. I don't see any chatter going on in the chat room in the upper right. Oh, yes, finally, we've got some people there chatting away. I can see it now. Video is awesome. Tommy says, tell him how to chat. Well, you're doing it now, Tommy. I can see what you're saying. The chat button, I believe, is over, let's see, this way to the top right. For those of you who watch the show live, there should be a little chat window over that way. I'm almost positive, but I appreciate you checking in. Mark checks in with us, says, great shirt. Yeah, I'm rocking this. It's a pretty slick jacket. If you hear a little noise in the background, it could be because this is a 1978 Gator Bowl champs, 17-15 final score, Clemson over Ohio State. That was the infamous Woody Hayes punch game, Woody Hayes' last game, and Coach Danny Ford's first game. That Clemson Tiger team finished 11-1 with that Gator Bowl win just a couple of years later, really 3 years, I guess, 1981. Of course, the 1982 Orange Bowl, Clemson wins the national championship. I've got a great clock. And as much as I love to see this tiger choking out this chicken behind me here, I'm going to move that down and I'm going to pop that clock up there for all you folks to enjoy while we do the program down the road here for you. There's so much to get to. We're going to start, though, with this bowl matchup, Clemson versus LSU, and we'll dissect it a little bit more momentarily. But, when you realized, for one thing, that you weren't going to be in the BCS bowl game after losing to South Carolina and the glimmer of hope faded with TCU defeating Oklahoma on, I believe that was Saturday. There's been so many games. There's the Friday games, the Saturday games, and then, of course, the professional games on Sunday. So I believe that was Saturday morning, the 12 o'clock kickoff, as it were, that game between TCU and Oklahoma, and you had a feeling for a while maybe TCU would find a way to get a win. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and that's kind of when the glimmer of hope went out the window. Then some of the stuff you saw go on with Wisconsin just squashing Nebraska. The best news about that game was being able to see 63-17 on the screen for quite a while and enjoy that. It went Twitter crazy by Clemson people. Anytime somebody scores 63 points and gives up 17 in a ball game, they jump all over it. The Clemson folks do, just to reminisce on the great game back in 2003, played in Williams-Brice Stadium. Charlie Whitehurst up and down the field. Chad Jasmine touchdown. Todd Ellis with the great Chad Jasmine touchdown call. Only about 4 or 5 touchdown calls that game for Chad Jasmine. But we're here and we're ready for the LSU Bayou Bengals coming in to take on the Clemson Tigers, and this is a reason this is a good game. Because as Clemson fans know, if you'll just bear with me, you're never as bad or as good as you think you are. And even though you were defeated soundly 27-17 at home by the South Carolina Gamecocks, a play here, a play there by the defense for Clemson, maybe even forcing a field goal late, and it's a one-possession game with plenty of time left for you to prove that you can win this game, that you can compete against the SEC teams. See, I think people have gone out and blown this thing out of perspective. I think people have gone a little bit crazy with it because it's a 4-game losing streak to the Gamecocks, which is completely unacceptable. I understand that, and I'm never going to be somebody who will say it's acceptable. But you were in this game more than any of the others, and then when you came up a little bit short, everybody says the wheels are falling apart. Dabo Swinney can't get the job done. Dabo Swinney's never going to get back over the hump while Steve Spurrier is at South Carolina, and I tend to disagree. And there are a couple of things I will point to make this perfectly clear to you why Clemson can and will compete. All right, Mike Bentley is in the chat room, and he is chatting. I'm not sure what he has done different than everybody else. But he is in here in the chat room and putting it up on the screen. Yay, I'm in. Appreciate you, Mike, for coming in. Follow him on Twitter. He's at Bent0. Great guy. The deal is this, though. Even though you lost that game and the disappointment that carries on with it, Dabo Swinney was this close to landing a young man named Jadeveon Clowney. Dabo Swinney was this close to landing a kid named Todd Gurley. Plays running back for the Georgia Bulldogs. Played fantastic in that SEC championship game. And you look at all the pieces and everything that Clemson's got there right now, and you look at the recruiting that's coming in this year, again, how can you say that in the ACC Clemson cannot compete nationally? How can you say that Clemson can't compete against the SEC? These few years that South Carolina has gotten the job done, I don't think they're a real measuring stick for what Clemson's future can be in the Atlantic Coast Conference. The SEC cannot stay on top forever. They're just not going to do it. And to be fair, ESPN hypes this thing up. I thought the biggest irony of the night after the games, when you knew Alabama was going to beat Georgia once the final tick ran off the clock, I mean, almost immediately ESPN is hyping up the showdown between Alabama and Notre Dame. But don't forget to tune in for our BCS rankings. You need to check that out. Stay with us. I just couldn't figure that out. It drove me crazy. They want us to wait, but yet here's who's going to play. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
South Carolina Low Country.
This is Coach Dabo Swinney of the Clemson Tigers, and you're listening to the Clemson Hotline on the John C. Calhoun Radio Network.
Tommy Chastain checks in. He says, L, this is tenfold better than vocal. Tell him to shove it. Pixelation's way down. Competition way up, though. This is probably going from the ACC to the SEC. When you step over into the Spreecast area. I mean, a lot of people who were with us over at Vocal have moved this direction. But the folks at Vocal, I will tell you, they've done a lot to help me out over there. But so are the folks at Spreecast. When they found out that we were having some when we were having some difficulties over there, they were like, hey, come on over. We'll show you the works. We'll lay out the land. You guys, you look around. You do your Brady Bunch look to the left and right, checking out things. People have figured out the way into the chat room. We've got so much to get to here on the program. I want to say this, though, about the ACC adding Louisville. I think that's a nice move if you're talking about picking up a team. If you had to go out and do it, it shows that the academic standards, we're going to waver on those a little bit, which eventually may filter down to all the programs, and then some of these kids who can't qualify at ACC schools will be able to get into some ACC schools instead of, I can think back to so many guys who haven't been able to get in to the Atlantic Coast Conference because of the stringent rules are compared to what the ACC has on academic qualifications, what the SEC has on academic qualifications. Stephen Davis is a big name that comes to mind. Stephen Davis probably was going to play at Clemson. Where did he go? Auburn. You know why? Trouble getting in. Not rocking the hoodie. Again, I want to show this off. My wife's mom's husband gave me this jacket. Gator Bowl Champs, 1978. It is sweet. It is hot, though. This thing is a lined jacket. I had one like this when I was a kid. Had the little orange buttons on it, and I just gnawed the paint off of them. People always ask me if I ate paint chips as a child. Kind of like Tommy Boy, the old reference there. And perhaps those were the paint chips that actually caused me to have the issues. That could be what did it for me. I thought I had that over here queued up, but I don't see it. We've got so many things here in the studio. Let's talk about Clemson. Let's talk about LSU and what this could mean for Clemson. Again, I'll say it. You're never as bad or as good as you think you are. If you go into Atlanta, find a way to score against this vaunted LSU defense, find a way to hold down Zach Mettenberger and this offensive ball club that LSU has. You know, Clemson's defense obviously has not been great this year, and LSU's offense is not the power that LSU once had maybe offensively a few years ago. They have an unbelievable running game, though. That will cause Clemson a lot of trouble probably. And we're going to talk about them a lot more on this week's TigerNet Talk Wednesday night, 9 p.m. But this is going to be a matchup, I think, eerily similar to South Carolina. You've got great ends on the defensive side of the ball for LSU who could give Clemson's offensive line a lot of trouble. A guy like Sam Montgomery out of the Greenwood area. You've got a guy on the defense that I bring up a lot when people say, hey, what's wrong with Clemson's secondary? What's wrong with the safeties? Craig Papaloston, who plays for LSU, will be on display in this ballgame for you Clemson people to see. You'll get to see a kid that was coming to Clemson until we got rid of Tommy Bowden. This is a chance for you to reassess and say maybe at the end of the year, you know what? We played 3 SEC teams this year. We went 2-1. And the ACC plays far more SEC teams than any other conference. So I think it's almost unfair sometimes that we judge the ACC against the SEC as frequently as we do and let other teams or other conferences have a pass. You know, we go head-to-head with them over and over. Consistently each and every year, you get Georgia Tech, Georgia, you get South Carolina, Clemson, and you get Florida, Florida State, and now you're getting typically a Vandy Wake type game. So you're getting a nice little mix, plus these kickoff games that they have in Atlanta. Yeah, that's another thing that maybe has soured this a little bit. I mean, you had NC State and Tennessee play this year. I think one thing that's maybe soured this a little bit for Clemson fans is the fact that you've got to go back over to where the season started. You've got to go back to where the season started. And the system is clearly flawed, people. The system is clearly flawed. But you get a good matchup. It could have been worse. I mean, there was talk that maybe this game fell to a Vanderbilt. At least now you have a chance, a measuring stick game against a top 10 BCS team in LSU. And you've got a coach in Les Miles who's known to do crazy things, fake field goals, fake punts, not managing the clock very well. And can we just get rid of the thought process that many people had for a while that in some way, shape, or form, the South Carolina football game was not called offensively by Chad Morris. That is like the speculation that people put out there. It's almost the fear mongers. They want to understand, how is it possible that South Carolina beat us? How could it possibly happen? Jeff Scott obviously was meddling in the play calls. Chad Morris clearly did not call that game. Look, it's okay to understand that South Carolina is a very good football team. It's an okay thing to accept. Does that mean you have to accept losing to them? Absolutely not. But they are a fairly good football team, and they've proven it. Going back to their loss against Connecticut in a bowl game 3 years ago, 4 years ago, however long it's been now, their record is something like 28-6. I mean, they're playing really good football. That number may be off a little bit, but it's not off much. You can run the numbers, what they've done to teams like Florida in recent years, Georgia in recent years, Tennessee, Clemson. They are at an all-time high right now, and I'm not telling you to accept losing to them, but at least accept that maybe they're a pretty good football team. And this Clemson team, I think, overachieved this season. Coming into the year, if you felt like, looking at the schedule, I don't think many people went into that game in Atlanta believing that Clemson – well, let me rephrase it. There were a lot of you that said or thought we would win against Auburn. I think that's fair to say. But I think there was a good portion of you that say, you know what, if we lose that game, it's okay. We can carry on through the season, have maybe a good year. Three losses, maybe 4. Maybe we slip up in some games. We haven't slipped up in games. That's the one thing this team has done. Mark in the chat room says third downs killed us. They did, and we've been killing people all season with our third down conversion rate. South Carolina continued to do that. South Carolina continued to pick up third downs, and that's why you find yourself on the losing end of the stick. And you want to put that thing in the rearview mirror, but it just keeps cropping up. It just keeps coming up because the 4 years of anguish, have to continue until next November. And I got a tweet. I did get a tweet, or perhaps an email. Yes, it was an email. Let me get to it real quick. Got to pull it up here from our man PFC Kevin Brown out in Fort Lewis, Washington. Appreciate his service more than anything, but also him emailing us. He says, what can fans do to encourage a Clemson versus South Carolina rematch? Would a petition or a Facebook group help? Other than South Carolina, the only worthwhile opponent would be LSU, but I want the Gamecocks again. Go Tigers. He sent that to me the other day, when you're kind of going through and speculating about who Clemson would go up against. And I think that there was some excitement for people to think, hey, maybe instead of having to be soured by this Atlantic Coast, this loss, I should say, to South Carolina in the final game at home to end your 13-game home winning streak, maybe somehow the bowl makers would say, you know what, we want to fill up the arena in Atlanta. Let's get Clemson and South Carolina back together. Instead, 365-plus more days of anguish for you. But it goes on. I've been beaten before. I'm sure I'll be beaten again at some point. Anyway, we'll be back. Clemson and LSU. That's going to be your Chick-fil-A bowl matchup. Stay with us, Tiger fans.
On down to San Antone.
Enjoy the Clemson football season at Seasons by the Lake Restaurant. Tiger Tailgate on the Terrace at Seasons Restaurant will be held every Clemson football game day, rain or shine, home or away, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for those day games and noon to midnight for the evening kickoffs. Enjoy a large screen TV, a Bloody Mary and mimosa bar, specialty drinks, and a great tailgate menu, all on the Seasons Terrace. For more information, call 656-7444 or visit their Facebook page, facebook.com/Seasons by the Lake. I hope to see you on the terrace.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience?
We think that's crazy.
Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature,
Late Night Free Zone.
For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief. It can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you, we'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I tried it and it worked. The fragrance is amazing. It has a refreshing scent, so I'm pain-free and smell good too.
The makers of real-time pain relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call 800-399-5101 now. Get 47 channels of HBO Stars Cinemax free for 3 months. That's 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
Are you a landowner who owns more than 10 acres that's interested in selling timber or pulpwood off your property? Cross Creek Timber is a full-service timber procurement company that buys standing saw timber and pulp wood. They're staffed with professional licensed foresters and fully insured with both workers' comp and general liability insurance. Let Cross Creek Timber develop the appropriate harvesting plan for your property and answer any questions regarding forest management. Call today, 864-517-3620. That's 864-517-3620 for your free woodland evaluation, or visit www.crosscreektimber.com.
Hey, sports fans, listen up. If you're a fan of the Gamecocks, the Citadel Bulldogs, or you just simply get chills from the Tigers running down the hill, then CRM Sports has a weekly show just for you. Even if Cocky and the Tiger make your blood boil, then just tune in for a good laugh. Each week, Gamecock fans hear the CRM Sports show Carolina Crowline broadcasting live from downtown Columbia. And Clemson fans enjoy the Clemson Hotline broadcasting live just miles away from their beloved Death Valley. It's fun, independent, objective, and informative talk about your favorite college team. To listen to the various CRM Sports Collegiate Sports Talk podcasts, visit iTunes and search for CRM Sports, and the action-packed shows will be just a free click away. CRM Sports, check them out in iTunes and get all the inside info on your favorite Southern team. CRM Sports, we know Southern sports.
Oh yeah, welcome back into the Clemson Hotline here on Spreecast, our first ever show on Spreecast. And the thing that's funny about it is a lot of people writing in, and there's a few things different that we can do here. Anything you put in the chat room, we could put it on screen. Tommy says a little shaky start, but I have to tell you the pick in audio is impressive. And I'll say this about it. It is a nice video quality. And yes, I am learning along with you guys. If you've wondered why maybe I've been a little discombobulated a little bit, it's because of that, just trying to feel our way in. Mike says, speaking of losers, what bowl did the Coots end up in? Of course, that's the South Carolina Gamecocks, and they're going to be playing Michigan in the Outback Bowl, which South Carolina had a long-standing history with the Outback Bowl. Of course, going back to a couple of wins against Ohio State back when Lou Holtz was the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Let's see here. Another question we've got about, here we go. Mark says, I would have liked to see Clemson versus UGA in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. That would have been a nice one too, but with Clemson opening the season next year against Georgia, here you have a shot where you had South Carolina, top 10 team in the BCS. You're going to play LSU, top 10 team in the BCS. Next season, you've got Georgia to open the year, a top 10 team in the BCS. If you go 2 out of 3 there, you got to be feeling better about things. So you've got a whole lot of good football to start and end, I guess, to end this past season and to start next year up with a bang, hopefully, against the Georgia Bulldogs. That's clearly a team that's on the rise, I think. But the big question is now, with Mark Richt always coming up just a little bit short, always finding a way not to quite get the job done. And you have to question the play calling at the end of the game. If we're going to criticize guys like Les Miles for their play calling, I've got to say, you spike the ball with 15 seconds left and take a couple of shots to the end zone. You have that opportunity there. And I know the throw was going to the end zone and it was tipped, and you can't expect the player to bat the ball down. Natural instincts just take over in that moment. But if you're the coach and you have a second to say to your guys, hey, listen, anything that comes your way shy of the goal line that you can't get in, bat it down, do whatever it takes, give us another snap at it if the ball somehow doesn't end up in the end zone. Things were rushed. Things were, a little bit off kilter there. And I think that there's a lot of fans for Georgia right now who are saying Mark Richt and the coaching staff cost us that game more than our players. And you talk about an SEC battle that went up and down the field, the rushing yards just racking up. Todd Gurley, there he was on display. You could see his running style, how powerful he is. A kid that was on Clemson's radar right up to the very end. You do feel, though, bad for, I think, Mark Richt, because he has been right at the cusp a couple of times. Have they finished number 2 one time or 2 other times? I want to say they finished number 2 in the country twice after not being in the national championship game, but then jumping up in the final polls. I mean, that's just bad luck. Snake bit might be the word. I see Tommy in the chat room talking about that. Clemson versus Georgia would have been a good one. Other games, Mike Bentley says he circled Florida State, NC State, and South Carolina as the 3 games that Clemson may have lost this past year. And, of course, we all know losing 2 of those 3 games was very painful. Where do we go from here, Tiger fans? That's the big question. If you saw the incident that occurred on the field with a guy like DJ Swearinger laying out with one of the biggest hits of the season when he hit Andre Ellington there in the open field and then kind of flexed on him and got a flag. We mentioned this on the program last week. One thing we didn't know about at the time, and we've heard about from some sources, and we've seen it on multiple websites being reported, that after the game, as the clock was running down, I don't know if you heard this. I don't know if you heard this at all, but apparently Swearinger went on a tirade towards Dabo Swinney at the end of that game. And it wasn't just, we just came in your house and we beat you pretty bad. From the understanding of multiple people who heard it, they're saying that this was a tirade laced with expletives towards Coach Dabo Swinney. So much so that after the game, Dabo Swinney addressed Clemson's team and told the players that if any Clemson Tiger player ever taunts an opposing coach, they will be kicked off of the team. Now, what lesson should Dabo Swinney have probably learned from this? Well, I think if you go back to the end and the thing that we played at the beginning of TigerNet Talk, the South Carolina, or if SC's in California and Carolina's in Chapel Hill and all that, the one thing, you get into these barrages, these volleys thrown back and forth, and the focus gets off of what's really important, and that's going out there and playing hard-nosed football. You get into these shouting matches back and forth. And in fact, at the Clemson-South Carolina basketball game earlier today, once again, Steve Spurrier made a joke about that school in the upstate, and he went on to talk about how the defense played good in the fourth quarter and came away with a 24-7 victory over Wofford. And then he did recognize Clemson to some degree in the fact that Carolina had come up and defeated the Tigers. But the point is, I think there's got to be this shift in our mentality that we can't be so focused on the Gamecocks right now like so many of you are, like so many people have become. You just can't do it. It's another game on the schedule. It's an important game. But nonetheless, I think you let this get in your head a little bit, and then you go in that game and you play a little bit tight. And that's not good football when you're playing tight. So, I think when you kind of take it back for a second and realize what Dabo Swinney should have learned from this, not only to give those players a heads up and to say to those guys, hey, don't do anything like that, because if you do, you're going to be off the team. I think you also kind of have to say to yourself as a fan, where are we as a fan base when we look at this game right now? Because for me, I've come to grips. I've come to grips that right now South Carolina is playing better football than Clemson when we're on the field against them. But do I ever want my players to misrepresent my school or do the things that apparently DJ Swearinger did? Absolutely not. And any player who did do something like that, I would want them off the team. I'll give you a prime example. Brad Brownell, I think, has done a fantastic job at Clemson. Look, these guys aren't the best, most skilled offensive ball club, and we're going to talk about them in the final segment. But he missed a boat here, in my mind, by not kicking Milton Jennings off of this team. Milton Jennings should have been kicked off of the team immediately. And I'm not going to get into the legalities in some states versus other states, in the drugs that Milton Jennings had. I'm not going to get into that. And I'm not going to talk about other college kids and what you may speculate on what percentage of college kids maybe do break this law. But my point with the Milton Jennings issue is this. One, you've had things with him before, arguing with the coaching staff, arguing. There were some reports that he had some words to say down at the tournament in Florida to some fans. Now, that didn't ever blow up in the media, and people didn't jump all over that. But when I first heard it, I was kind of like, that's not good, Milt. But when it's the day of the game, well, I don't care if it's 1 o'clock at night. I mean, the game is coming up that evening, and you got a big matchup against Purdue, and you get arrested for unplugging a smoke detector in your apartment complex on campus. That, for me, says more about how Milton Jennings values his teammates than the choices he's making. And when you have two seniors on your ball club, Milton Jennings and Devin Booker, and everybody else is a sophomore freshman, I just feel like Brad Brownell has to make the move there and say, Milton, you're off of this team. And it has nothing to do with the underperformance that he's had in his career at Clemson. It has everything to do with these other players. It has everything to do with these young players who see a guy in Milton Jennings get arrested and then not be removed from the team. And I think that's the wrong message to send to people. It's been far too long for Milton Jennings to be doing stuff like that on game days and it be excused. I wouldn't want Dabo Swinney to do it, and I certainly wouldn't want Brad Brownell to do it for anybody doing that on a game day in season, for crying out loud. We'll be back. Welcome back in to the Clemson Hotline here on the John C. Calhoun Radio Network. Still feeling my way around. At Bent Zero send us a tweet. He sent us a tweet. Did we dodge a bullet by not winning the conference? Playing NIU in the Orange Bowl isn't appealing. And let's talk about the flaws of the BCS. My goodness. We talk about it all year, and I said I was never going to knock the SEC again this season about how I think that maybe that was an overrated conference. I can't do it. When they swept the ACC in the final weekend of the regular season, my mouth was officially shut on that topic, and I won't go back to that one. But I will say this. When I look at the BCS standings and Northern Illinois and their games, and I had their schedule pulled up here, they lost their opening game 18-17 to Iowa, and then they proceeded to beat absolutely nobody. Absolutely nobody up until they beat Kent State, who is ranked 17th in the country, or in the BCS, in the championship game for the MAC in overtime, 44-37. And somehow I think somebody said that they were in the polls, they were ranked, and I don't have the polls right here in front of me, but in the national polls, I believe they were ranked 19th. And in the BCS standings, they were ranked 16th. No, in the computers, they were ranked 16th, but somehow overall in the BCS, they were ranked 15th. So that got them in. So that meant that Florida State got the lucky draw there and gets to play. My goodness. What is their mascot, though? Are they the Wolfpack? Is it the Wolfpack? The Northern Illinois Wolves? I'm not even sure what their mascot is, to be honest with you. Huskies. It's the Huskies. Mike says it's some kind of puppies. Yes, it's the Huskies. I don't know. Matt says, would you want Bellamy back? I say, heck yeah. Listen, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Todd Gurleys, about the Jadeveon Clowneys, about the guys who got away. Say what you want about Mike Bellamy in the classroom, not getting the job done, his issues that happened in Atlanta. I know that happened, in Charlotte. I guess technically not the day of the game, but a day or so before. He is a kid who I think, if given the opportunity, I would take that kid back right now. And maybe that's, speaking out of both sides of my mouth based on what I said a few minutes ago, but I don't believe that happened on game day, as I recall. And that was my statement. If it happens on game day, there's a problem. And certainly there's a problem if it happens anytime. But still, for me, that guy is explosive. He is an explosive back. Let's see here. Speaking of the jacket, look at this old school thing I had to pull out. I noticed that during the Clemson basketball game against South Carolina, I noticed that there was an eerie similarity. Let me get this jacket unbuckled here. This thing has got some old school snaps on it. DeMarcus Harrison out of Greenwood, the transfer from BYU. This is, look at there. You don't see that kind of stuff every day anymore, do you? The old Clemson Santa Claus with the list of players on there. Vince Witt, Harold Jameson, Terrell McIntyre, Will Solomon, though. DeMarcus Harrison looks exactly like Will Solomon. I don't know if anybody remembers Will. Will was basically a one-man wrecking crew when he was at Clemson because we didn't have anybody else around him after Terrell and those guys graduated. But I'll tell you this. If you get a picture of DeMarcus Harrison and a picture of Will Solomon and put them up side by side, you don't think those two guys look like they're related? You need to get your prescription refilled. I don't know if you go to Lens Crafters or wherever, but you definitely need to get those eyeballs checked out. But how about the Clemson Tigers going down to Columbia? 3-1 now in the Colonial Life Arena, or whatever they're calling that building down there. They've changed the name of that place. Colonial Life, I guess, is what it's called now. I think at one time it was the Colonial Center. But Clemson improves to 4-1 all time down there. 5-2 overall on the season. In that loss against BYU. Excuse me. I'm getting Harrison mixed up in my head. And my screen here is going crazy on me. But the loss down in the tournament down against Gonzaga, that's where I was going. The loss against Gonzaga, 57-49, 8-point loss against Gonzaga. A very good Gonzaga team, though. Clemson just plays solid defense. And even in this game, South Carolina made a couple of runs. They kept coming back. They kept fighting back in. Carolina would cut it to 2 or 3 and then eventually got a lead late in the second half. But then Devin Booker really started showing up, and give credit to K.J. McDaniel. And I like the fact that Dari Noka, recognized just how good K.J. McDaniel can be. I mean, they were just all over K.J. McDaniel and the unbelievable talent that he has offensively. I mean, this is a kid who goes to the rack hard. He can finish when he's hit, rebounds, blocks shots, runs the floor, has a great IQ for the game. Rarely does he turn the ball over. And if he continues to play smart, heady basketball, I think he can not only be a leader on this team, but he's part of the reason that I would be willing to dismiss a kid like Milton Jennings. And I know Brownell's not going to do that at this point. I think Milton's on his last leg, though. But I'll tell you this. When you look at this Clemson Tiger team, the youthful enthusiasm that they have, they've got a tough road, playing against Arizona coming up in their next ball game, and then eventually getting into conference play. It's always going to be tough in the Atlantic Coast Conference, especially once you get into down the road, adding Louisville and getting games against Pittsburgh and Syracuse on your schedule, assuming that Clemson does stay in the Atlantic Coast Conference. But Brad Brownell, look, for not having offensive talent, for not being able to score and shoot free throws very well, although they did do a good job against South Carolina down the stretch, at one point hitting about 90% of their free throws in the second half against the Gamecocks, Brad Brownell is slowly, I think, really beginning to develop a very good team. Now, when you look at the recruiting, though, when you look at the guys they recruit, I think you might scratch your head a little bit and say, hey, They're not going after top-tier guys. But I think Brownell's strategy is this. Bring in very good talent and have them mold and play together well after 3-4 years. While you might not have the best team in the country, you will have a team. And that's very important. And a lot of the great programs can't say that because they have so much turnover. Stay with us. Blake Austin of South Carolina Farm Bureau is an insurance agent you can count on to meet all your needs. Home, auto, health, life, you name it, Blake's got you covered, and he can save you on your yearly rates. Call him now for a free quote, 803-259-5008. That's 803-259-5008. Or just go to ClemsonSportsTalk.com and click on the Farm Bureau logo to be connected to Blake. Do like I do and work with the best agent around, and you can tweet that.
Attention pain sufferers. Are you one of the millions of Americans who suffer from arthritis pain, back pain, muscle strains, or any other pain? Get pain relief in minutes with real-time pain relief. It can work that fast. If your pain is preventing you from enjoying life, or worse, if pain is keeping you up at night, visit rtpr.com/radio for your free sample. We're so confident real-time pain relief will help you. We'll even pay for the shipping and handling. That's right, free sample and free shipping of the best-smelling, most effective topical pain relief product on the market.
I tried it and it worked. The fragrance is amazing. It has a refreshing scent, so I'm pain-free and smell good too.
The makers of real-time pain relief are so confident that you'll love their product. They're offering you a sample absolutely free, and that includes free shipping. Remember to visit rtpr.com/radio now for your free sample with free shipping. That's rtpr.com/radio. Again, go to rtpr.com/radio.
Take your business to the next level with innovative website design from Foodog Media. Foodog can handle all your web, graphic, and social media needs. Call them today, 843-864-9268. That's 843-864-9268. Mention this ad and receive 10% off of your website. Foodog is a Clemson-owned business. See their portfolio at www.foodogmedia.net. May the food be with you.
And now the number one reason to get Genie from DirecTV, the most advanced HD DVR ever. It serves your entire home with one HD DVR. Call now and get a free upgrade to Genie. Packages start at $29.99 a month.
Call now. That's 800-399-5101. That's right. Call now at 800-399-5101.
DirecTV or an RVU-enabled TV device required for each additional room. Additional and advanced receiver fees apply. Offer requires 24-month agreement and qualifying package. $29.99 package not eligible. Offer ends 2/6/13. New approved customers only. Lease required. Other conditions apply. Call for details.
Think if you live in a rural area you have to settle for a slow online experience?
We think that's crazy.
Exceed Broadband. It's the highest capacity satellite in the world, and it makes everything faster. Streaming videos, TV shows and movies, sharing photos, video chatting, sending files, and more. New feature,
Late Night Free Zone.
For details, call 800-503-7232. That's 800-503-7232 for Exceed Broadband. Call 800-503-7232. Again, 800-503-7232. Call now, 800-503-7232.
Well, I see everybody in the chat room, at least lots of people watching the bowl selection show over on the Four Letter Network. I was watching it briefly there during the break, and oh man, Lou Holtz. That might work over in the ACC, but that doesn't work in the SEC. Lou, I appreciate you being here with us. Lou Holtz here, gonna do the rest of the program, because I love the SEC. Go! Yes, Clemson versus the SEC. Number 8 LSU, number 14 Clemson Tigers. December 31st, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And like they said, Clemson got punched in the mouth by South Carolina. Can they handle getting punched in the mouth by a team like LSU? And Mark May called Clemson a bunch of finesse players, a bunch of finesse guys. And maybe we do need to get that edge back, that grit back, that what we had back in the 80s where we were a team. It didn't matter what league you played in, and I still don't think it matters what league you play in. If you have the right talent, if you have the right mentality, you can go out and punch people in the face. You cannot tell me that this conference can't be good again from top to bottom. Well, maybe not from top to bottom, from top to midway through. You got to tell me Florida State is going to continue to be good. Clemson is going to continue to be good. Can Miami, though, get back to where they were? Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. That's 5 fairly legitimate teams. Pittsburgh, if you go back far enough, had a very, very good history. Syracuse was very good at one time with guys like Donovan McNabb. I mean, there have been some great teams. NC State can be one of those teams to maybe rise up a little bit. North Carolina. Now, can I count on Duke and Boston College and Maryland and Wake Forest and Virginia every year? No. But the one team that we need to count on and the one team that we have to count on is Clemson. And all you can do is handle your business. And if a team, and I don't care if they played in the MAC or wherever, but if a team like Northern Illinois can play in the Orange Bowl with the teams that they played and be ranked in the top 15 in the BCS, you can stay in the ACC and play against these teams even when they're down. And if you run the table, you would be in the national championship game. I do not believe this. I do not believe Clemson would not be in the national championship game if they had gone undefeated this year. Clemson would be playing for the national title. That's just the fact of the matter. And you could say the league is down. You could say that you only beat Florida State at that point in South Carolina. Good. You run the table, you are in the national championship. Now, we can stay where we are, and we can continue to do this, and you can continue to have people argue that the ACC is so bad and so down, and you can win that league, and you can go undefeated, and you will play for the national championship. Or you could go to the Big 12. You could go to the SEC. You could lose 3-4 games a season and get thrown to the Outback Bowl or wherever else. I mean, clearly, while the ACC is down this year, even going undefeated in this league will get you there. And so what? Auburn was left out, and they went undefeated in the SEC not that long ago. So don't give me the argument that you can't do it in the Atlantic Coast Conference, because you can. And if the matchup was right, if you got Notre Dame this year, let me ask you, do you think Clemson couldn't beat Notre Dame this year? Absolutely not. Clemson could. They could. Everybody believes that. I think if we had the matchup right now, Clemson may only be a slight underdog. And I think I would pick them to win. We'll be back next week, though, with more Clemson Hotline here on the John C. Calhoun Radio Network. Tune in Wednesday night. We may go a Spreecast again, give them one more shot, see how we like it. Thanks to everybody for being here in the chat room. Till next time, as always, y'all take care now, and go Tigers!